Good morning and welcome to Friday's OTB AM. It's Adrian Barry with you, as always, and as always joined in the hot seats by Owen Sheehan. Very good morning to Owen.
Very good morning to you.
All well with the world?
Oh, incredible, incredible, very good.
I feel you're overstating things slightly.
No, the world is amazing. There's no better place in the world right now.
I feel that it's one of these conversations that if we keep going for just not even that long, that we actually might get somewhere quite deep.
No, probably not, to be honest. Probably there's no spade to be dug here.
I hopped into my car this morning, the battery was flat. It's like a really shit start to the day.
Yeah, it is. It is a terrible start to the day. And
you're full of optimism, and you're pumped, you're ready to come in. We've got a packed show here, we've got great guests, we're going to Vegas, we've Quinny in, we're going to talk about Martin O'Neill, we've tickets to give away, we've lots of good stuff going on. I mean, I've your company to look forward to, and then it's zoom.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't represent the rest of the day. I hope it's a fizzy rather than a flat day for you, because you do have a big day in store.
It's a good day. I'm looking forward to it, I have to say.
What have you planned after the show?
Skirting out of here. I will apologise, viewers and listeners. I am skirting out of here at 9 o'clock no matter what happens, but Owen will see you right through until 9:45 or whatever time it is we normally wrap up at.
I'll just pretend to chat to you.
That's what normally
And I'll be like, stop misrepresenting my point.
Hey.
You're talking bullshit, Adrian. And the people are at home are like, who's this guy talking to?
Fake outrage.
Yeah, fake outrage all the way.
Yeah, so I'm going to, as you beautifully described it a little earlier there, to Mount Juliet.
Yeah.
To play some golf this afternoon, so I'm very much looking forward to that. And then we've obviously, there's probably, to be fair, a lot of viewers who aren't aware, but we have a radio version of this show. It's called Off the Ball, and it lives on News Talk. So I probably, look, it's a little known thing. Some people will be aware of it, some people won't. But anyway, it's up for some awards tonight at the annual sort of Geek In down in Kilkenny.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice one. So hopefully that show wins.
I mean, you sound surprised.
What's it called again?
You do have your monkey suit dusted off and ready to go, but yeah, it's the IMRO radio.
Ah, right, okay. Yeah, looking forward to that actually later on. It should be a good old night, Adrian. Yeah, I'm greatly looking forward to that. Just getting back to the golf for a moment, what do you play off? Like, you haven't actually skirted out here too many times on a Friday afternoon to... Friday morning, I should say.
I haven't.
You haven't skirted out of here to actually play.
All right, yeah, no. I've a slip disc. You see, that's this, and I'm actually not sure. I think I potentially could take one swing and then have to retreat to the hotel, but we'll see how it goes. It's about 20. I don't have an official handicap, but about 22.
Right. Okay.
I'm an absolute hacker. You know.
Nice one. We should get some footage. Who are you playing with today?
There is today. There's a whole the elite of Off the Ball are heading down to golf.
Right, okay, yeah, I didn't get an invite anyway.
Yeah, well, no, the elite, so that's, so no, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, no, there is video evidence. We went out to myself and Joe, Fionn and Brian O'Driscoll.
Oh, so, the elite.
Absolute elite.
I thought when you said elite, I didn't exactly think you meant the cream of the crop.
We went out and took a Dave Pelt's short game course, is that what it's called? Lesson a few months ago, and there's video footage of that online. So
you get a little certificate at the end.
I did. No, we didn't get any certificate. I did, as well as Brian and Fionn.
A bottle of Coke and a packet of crisps afterwards for completing your golf lesson.
Yeah, Canna Club Orange. So yeah. Anyway, look at. That's all that. Lots of interesting stuff coming up for you over the next hour and a little bit. We're going to get stuck into the sports pages. Two main stories dominating the back pages today, and we'll let you know what they are in just a few moments' time. We're going to be hearing from Jon Walters. He was in the company of Keith Andrews on the Keith Andrews show on Off the Ball yesterday, and had some really interesting stuff to say. So we're going to hear from Jon Walters in a little bit. We're going to get the sports news from Will O'Callaghan, who is in the house and be with us at around about 8:20 or thereabouts. UFC 229 has dominated a lot of our discussion and has picked up a lot of column inches and radio minutes and all of that good stuff over the last while. And we're going to be live in Las Vegas with Niall McGrath, and that was going to be about 8:30 thereabouts. And he's also been speaking to some journalists, Gareth A. Davies amongst them. So that's all coming your way. We'll get a bit of a flavour of what happened at the press conference last night. And Alan Quinlan, as always, it is a Friday morning, so Alan Quinlan is going to be in the house to look forward to a busy weekend of the Pro 14. We're going to get him to pick his, if everybody's fit, Munster back row, and if everybody's fit, Leinster back row, and if everybody's fit, Ireland back row. So that is all coming your way in just a little bit. But before all of that, it's time for the papers.
OTB AM.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie. Championing the trade with a dedicated call centre.
Sweet tickets to send your way. Leinster versus Munster, Viva Stadium this Saturday, 6 o'clock kick-off there, and we've a pair of these bad boys to give away this morning on. So I think we'll just send us in your comments, question or comment for Quinny, anything rugby related that appears on our channels this morning on YouTube, Twitter and Facebook. We're going to put you in the hat for a pair of these tickets for the game tomorrow. So that's where we're going with that. Let's tell you what's going on across the back pages this morning. We're going to start with the Irish Examiner. I did mention there are 2 stories that dominate the headlines this morning, and that one there is certainly one of them that's across almost all the pages today. Keane and Abel is the reflections of the Irish Examiner here. Kerry up for a fresh voice, and they hand ex-minor manager keys to the kingdom. So this is Peter Keane has been announced as a new Kerry football manager, and James Horan, he will be announced, it looks like, on Monday night, and James Horan is returning to the Mayo job. So that has actually been confirmed, in a pretty interesting backroom staff too, which it seems, according to Mike Frinity, who's reporting across a lot of the sports pages this morning, that Ciara MacDonald could be a part of that team. But we have a resident Kerry football expert in the house, so who is Peter Keane, Owen?
Peter Keane, as you said there, he's come from the minor job. He's won the last 3 of the 5 in a row with this great minor All-Ireland winning team. So he's well familiar with some of the lads that are going to be coming through to the Kerry setup over the next couple of years. The appointment would suggest that this is sort of a long-term deal, that this is what Eamon Fitzmaurice was supposed to be when he signed that deal until 2020 last year, that he does have until 2020, 2021 to actually get a team in order that's able to challenge for multiple titles, to get back to the level that Kerry were 10 years ago, where they were considered the favourites every single year for the All-Ireland. And, you know, maybe the landscape will change where they just need to be in the top 2 every single year. We will see. He's come from, I think it's fair to say he's had a meteoric rise as a manager. He first really broke onto the national consciousness, I think, in 2011 when he was managing St Mary's to win a junior All-Ireland club title, which was a fantastic achievement for them. They had plummeted, really, like with rural depopulation and all that, and it really hampered places like Carrick-Savine, which is Peter Keane's hometown.
That's where St Mary's are from, is it?
Exactly, yeah. So he brought them back to, granted it was only a junior All-Ireland title, but the fact that he had brought some sort of happiness on a footballing turn back to South Kerry again, because let's not forget, it was only 15 years ago at the peak of the Celtic Tiger when South Kerry was the heartbeat of Kerry football. So he helped bring that back. He then went into Killarney to manage Killarney Legion, James O'Donoghue's club, and got them to a county final in 2015. They were up against South Kerry, ironically. They drew in the first game and then lost in the replay. Winning that county title would have been amazing, and everybody would have sort of got to know Peter Keane, I reckon, at that point a lot quicker, but they lost there in the end. That could be a key component of this, his relationship with James O'Donoghue. The James O'Donoghue whisperer, if we could call him that, would be reason enough to give a man a job for the Kerry role alone at this point.
A word locally that there's a good relationship there, and because obviously James O'Donoghue was a guy who was marked for greatness a few years ago and has had his injury issues and that sort of stuff.
But there would have had to have been, because Legion really haven't been anywhere near that level. Like, they got absolutely destroyed by Dr. Crokes last weekend with still a lot of the same talent. Now, granted, 2015, you're just coming off, you've got James O'Donoghue, Player of the Year from the previous year, coming into the 2015 championship, so that's different, but maybe that relationship will help, because he is so key if Kerry are going to do anything in the short term. But then he goes into the minor setup. Jack O'Connor had won 2 in a row, 2014, 2015. Peter Keane takes up the mantle, wins 2016, 17, 18. To be honest with you, I think the whole holistic approach would have been that Eamon Fitzmaurice would have seen his job out till 2020, and then Peter Keane in the interim might have had 1 year maybe with the under-20s maybe in the year 2020, and then after Fitzmaurice might have been in a position to take it up. Obviously, that didn't happen. Things have changed, and it was actually thought that Peter Keane was initially the front runner, then dropped out of being the front runner, and Maurice Fitzgerald was going to get the job. Now, something has happened this week. Either Maurice Fitzgerald has dropped out of the running, or he's going to be involved in the backroom setup for Peter Keane.
It seems as if both of those things might be the case, and according to Tony Lean at the Examiner this morning, that he's just taken up a new role as a principal of a school, and that might actually be a serious drain on his time, in a way that Peter Keane, as you say, has a super value. Who was in the ad with Bernard Brogan, you were saying that.
Yeah, I'm not sure was he with Bernard Brogan in the same ad, but certainly he's appeared on a Super Value television ad. He runs PKs in Killorglin, which is it's probably the most famous Super Value in all of Kerry. So he's well stacked.
Straight out of Father Ted.
Like, he cares a lot about the business. His inter-county career, really, I can remember it kind of was cut short because he was such a businessman. Right. He just couldn't have the dedication for inter-county football. I'd be interested to see how he now kind of manages his time now that he's going to have the biggest thief in his time now over the next couple of years.
Yeah, Tony Lean has started suggesting that he might have the capacity to delegate a little bit now in terms of that business, and you know, where Maurice Fitz might not necessarily going into such a massive role. He does mention Tony Buckley going in as one of the coaches, and Tony Lean that is, and talks about you know, a best coach around, as he puts it, in the areas that Kerry are suspect in: defensive shape, the tackle, and turning over the ball.
That's a key component in all of this. I will wait until it's actually ratified on Monday night to see the backroom team and all of it set up. The suggestion this morning is that it is going to be Donny Buckley, Maurice Fitzgerald and Tommy Griffin in the backroom team. Tommy Griffin has worked with Peter Keane at minor level, an excellent appointment. Maurice Fitzgerald, ordinarily I would say it's an excellent appointment if the suggestion is true that he didn't want the managerial role because he's too busy with the principal job. Well, is he going to have enough time to be a selector in an inter-county setup is my question. The thing is, that's just a suggestion. Granted, it's not nowhere near as big a job, especially in terms of the time that you dedicate to it as manager role. But then on the Donny Buckley thing, there was a suggestion that Peter Keane was out of the running because he wanted to bring in his own strength and conditioning team. And the deal breaker for Maurice Fitzgerald, or deal clincher I should say, was that he was willing to work with Donny Buckley. Now there's no kind of history at all of animosity between Peter Keane and Donny Buckley. Maybe he just wanted to do his own thing. What we did know is that Jack O'Connor and Donny Buckley could not work together, and therefore Jack O'Connor was out of the running. So it's clearly of vital importance for this Kerry County Board that Donny Buckley is involved. So I would be surprised if he wasn't on the ticket. Also vital importance is just this appointment as a whole. This is the most important managerial appointment in the history of Kerry GAA. They've never had as many young players destined for greatness, and to actually take them on this path and bring them in a way that'll hopefully take them back to some sort of prominence. Like, there is so much pressure on this guy now. It is a huge appointment, and good luck to the man is all you can say, because it's not an easy job even when Kerry are in the doldrums, but certainly now when they're expected to win an All-Ireland in the next 2-3 seasons, let's say, and pressure is on. Yeah,
it's almost a bit of a left field appointment from a Kerry point of view, because I mean, it's maybe Jack O'Connor sort of is a similar sort of mould, but they generally tend to be sort of Kerry legends with 5 All-Irelands and household names around the country, so it's a bit different from that point of view. And obviously he's a guy who's, as you said, the importance of it, but he's worked with that group of stars that have come up over the last few years as well. So,
well, the thing on the inter-county legends now is that there is a role for them somewhere. Like Maurice Fitzgerald will be involved there. We obviously see J.O. involved with Jim Gavin, and Kieran MacDonald potentially involved in the next Mayo setup, which is sort of a trend coming through. There's definitely a role for them somewhere in the camp, this sort of aura that they bring to a team. Maybe not as the totemic figure running the whole thing, unless they're very talented as a manager, but certainly there's a role for them somewhere in all these setups.
Yeah, there's like a whole bunch of Kerry players that are retired over the last few years that might have something to put back into it as well, you know, like even over the last sort of 4 or 5 years. It's probably less the Gooches or the Donaghys. They'll have a few years to go yet if they are going to sort of go down that path, but the
Moss O'Shea has voiced interest one day.
Absolutely. Declan Sullivan, like these sort of lads, you assume that they've some sort of a role to play down the track. It is, as I said, story along with the Martin O'Neill, Declan Rice press conference yesterday, if we can call it that, dominates a lot of the back pages. O'Neill insists that family want Rice to choose Ireland after a day of confusion. We'll get into that in a little bit. And keen to get Keys of Kingdom as Horn Seal's 4-year Mayo term, and that is a picture of, as Owen said, the finest super value in all of the land. They are the beautiful bread section by the looks of things.
It's beautiful deli. Like, you should try those sausage rolls.
That's like the donuts. Oh, good sausage rolls, yeah. So like heavy pastry and not so much sausage, or what's the mix? Because that's what I find is the key to a good sausage roll.
It's just pure freshness. It would almost crumble in your hand.
But what's the ratio of sausage to pastry?
God, I'm just trying to think certainly not too much pastry.
I'm looking for specifics now. Like,
I know you are, but I'm just trying to, I don't want to give you...
Is it a 50-50 split? What are you thinking?
50-50 would be, it would be a bit more on the sausage, about 2-to-1 sausage to pastry, not that sort of wafer sort of crispiness to pastry. There's substance in it, despite the fact that there isn't as much of it compared to the sausage.
We didn't talk about James Horan, and he's obviously somebody who we've had close contact with over the last while when he's been in doing punditry for Off the Ball over the last 4 years. So yeah, he gets another crack at it. It seems pretty obvious. I was actually thinking about it last night, and he's the sort of guy who's come in now for a second term. You can see him doing his 4 years. You can see him bouncing out for a few more years and then coming back in for a third term almost. I mean,
you're getting ahead of yourself.
It will depend on how this things go, but you know, he's a forward thinker. He's a guy who's he's been at games for us and for Sky over the last number of years. Will be keeping his hand in that regard. He's smart, he's shrewd, I was looking at the sort of crop of players that were there, and then some of the players, there's not like a huge amount of players actually that have come in really over the 4 years that he's been away. Dermot O'Connor obviously lands very successfully in 2015, which would have been just post that. Paddy Durkin, Stephen Cohn, James Durkin, Conor Loftus, who hasn't really nailed down a sort of first team position.
And Owen O'Donoghue this year as well.
Right.
So one of the unheralded stars, because they didn't get to Croke Park in a meaningful way, and they didn't get to Croke Park at all this year. What am I talking about? So there's a couple of more. There was a little kind of chinks of hope there for Mayo throughout the summer that haven't been fully exploited or haven't been fully brought into the public consciousness. So they're not in as bad a place in terms of the conveyor belt as a lot of people think. The question I would have, and it's not a bad question, it's actually quite a positive question, is when you look at Mayo over the last couple of years, the biggest leap they've ever made in this decade is under James Horan. He took them to the place where they were consistently challenging for All-Ireland titles. Now, the question is with Holmes and Kennelly, obviously they went extremely close. Stephen Rochford went extremely close. But the thing is, the leap that they made from James Horan was actually quite small. Now, granted, there wasn't a huge leap to be made, but you do wonder if James Horan goes back in and they can make another bounce. Yeah. Is that the bounce required to then win an All-Ireland? That is a question I would have, and maybe it is. Maybe this is exactly what Mayo needs.
The thing is, and I think it's a fair observation, they've regressed, you know, like you can't say that they've regressed since that time. Like they haven't won a Connacht final, I don't think at any point, Connacht title at any point over the last few years. They've obviously didn't get as far as the...
But they've got closer than ever. You would have to say that Stephen Rochford
they didn't,
in 2016, 2017.
On the evidence of recent history, they obviously didn't get as far as the Super 8s last season. That's a huge blow to a country like Mayo with the ambitions that they'd have. And actually, where are they in the overall pecking order of the power rankings of Gaelic football at the minute? Like, I think that's a perfectly valid question in terms of the level of improvement can't be, as you rightly say, as it was when Horan came in at the start, because they were nowhere to add, like, absolute All-Ireland contenders.
Not in the conversation.
So they're not that far back. I mean, they're behind Dublin, they're behind Tyrone, they're behind Kerry. The evidence of recent history against Galway, I think they've beaten them the last 3 times they've played, so you couldn't suggest that they're ahead of Galway at this stage. The Kildare thing you could probably write off as a bit of a one-off, but they're probably, you know, 5, 6 in that power ranking.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm the one sticking up for Mayo here, but I disagree with that. I really think that they are still the team best poised to beat Dublin. I think they're going to beat Galway in the Connacht Championship next year. James Horan is a Connacht Championship specialist.
Where's the recent evidence for that?
Well, I think the fact that they have been clearly the best team after Dublin in the country over the last 3-4 seasons.
No, but 12 months is a long time in Gaelic football.
But let's, like, when they challenged Dublin in 2017, let's not forget the backdoor path that they had that year when they came so close.
Absolutely,
they should have been knocked out twice that summer. But yet, they proved that once they got to Croke Park, where they almost got knocked out again by Roscommon, let's not forget, and then the following week on that Bank Holiday Monday, absolutely pulverised Roscommon and then went through to the All-Ireland final.
So are you saying that Mayo are ahead of Galway in the power rankings?
Yes.
Even though Galway have beaten them the last 3 times they've played?
Yes.
That doesn't make any sense.
In terms of where if you base it all on 2018, Galway have had a better year than 2018. In terms of the players poised to win an All-Ireland, if we're putting power rankings based on who is the most likely to win an All-Ireland, Mayo are ahead of Galway.
I'm interested to hear what you've got to say.
I can't believe I'm sticking up for Mayo here.
I mean, you and me both. Right, the Times Ireland edition, it's reflections on Celtic's defeat last night in the Europa League. Keane steps up to seniors, as we've been discussing with Peter Keane, and Rice to make final decision by Christmas. We'll have more of that in just a few minutes with Owen, who's going to get stuck into the tabloids.
I think we've got the Martin O'Neill audio, actually, if you want to have a listen to that.
Yeah, do you want to have a listen? Go for it.
Young man, I think you should. You're in contact with your group. You should know.
Yeah, I knew nothing about it.
Did you not? No. You didn't know anything about it.
No, I didn't know anything.
Oh, remarkable! And you're running the show.
I can show you. I got an email at about 13 minutes to 12, I think. So 15 minutes after you finished the press conference.
Okay, so what has been said then?
What has been said is that papers have been prepared, and that.
And where's this coming from? Is it coming from the FAI?
Well,
not from the FAI, but from the FA?
I don't know where it's coming from. Our reporter Rob Dorset is the one who broke out.
You'll understand then, until you get the story, then I can't really comment on it. You know, all I can do is reiterate what I've said in the room for the last hour. You know, and what I said to you was exactly how I felt about it, and that's until Guy and his crew get it sorted out, then I have to say the same. You know?
Martin, I was assuming you'll go and talk to Declan this afternoon or his family.
If Guy gets the story, you know, I should put the pressure onto this young man, you know. because it's his mob that are running it, you know. So at the end of the day, get the story out, get it correct. Okay.
Get it correct.
See you later.
You don't think it is correct, then, as far as you're concerned, you don't think the story is correct?
I would be a bit surprised at this minute. I'd be surprised. Okay.
At this minute?
I'd be surprised. Nothing surprises me in this life, but I'd be a bit surprised at their particular story. Okay.
Yeah, as much as my car not starting this morning was very much the low light of today, that piece yesterday on was absolutely my highlight of the day. Martin O'Neill interviewing the guy from Sky Sports was unbelievable stuff. Literally interviewed him.
It really was. It's pure, like, that's just sort of one of those moments that you're watching and you're like, reeling in the ears right there. I'm going to be watching this moment. And it just had a sense of drama around it, even if the whole story itself may feel like a storm in a teacup in a little while, even if we do lose Declan Rice, which looks like the likely scenario. There was just something ominous about how Martin O'Neill finished that. As in, I'd be surprised. There's not a smug nature, there's a knowing tone to what Martin O'Neill is saying there.
I was talking to John Giles about this last night, which is not a comment you get to make every day of the week. And my point to John was that I would want, if we're hell-bent, and we are, on getting Declan Rice to come and play for Ireland, I would want Martin O'Neill in my corner rather than Gareth Southgate. I can easily see how he walks into the Rice household and wins the room and wins him over straight away.
Yeah, gifted a gab. Like they're very... I would say that the Gareth Southgate is persuasive in a very different way. But
absolutely. But
sort of like the guidance counsellor sitting down and trying to see what sort of points you're going for in your CAO.
Engineering's for you.
Exactly. Whereas Martin O'Neill is like, you know...
I can make you a superstar.
Exactly. It's like, you don't need to go down the CAO route. Like, that's where we'll leave that analogy, I think. Like, it's different. It's... Like, definitely, and the humour that Martin O'Neill brings, I thought that exchange was brilliant yesterday. We've criticised Martin O'Neill for some of the jokes he makes in press conferences and stuff, and maybe his humour is not for everyone, but I thought he just kind of navigated that little situation brilliantly yesterday. And everything he says, I kind of buy that he will be surprised that this happens, that he was kind of a little bit taken aback by the report from Sky Sports yesterday that Declan Rice had pledged his allegiance to the England football team. And I'm a lot more hopeful than I was 24 hours ago. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, hopeful was the key word that kept coming out yesterday, and it was impressive because he had literally just walked out of another press conference where it hadn't come up into this one, where people had started saying, okay, Sky are now saying this thing happened, and he had to respond to it off the hoof, and I thought it was... I was pretty impressed by it.
Yeah.
The Racing Post this morning, it's a bit of a preview of the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe is what's going on there. That takes place over the weekend, and it's all about whether Enable can get it done or not, and a pretty poor draw for the second favourite Sea of Class. Stall 15 is the story that dominates the Racing Post this morning. And finally, the Irish Times... yes, I had to look at the date on this one, I have to say, when I picked it up this morning. Messi leaves Spurs toiling on a lower plane of sporting reality, reflecting on Wednesday nights.
Wednesday was Barcelona Spurs, yeah.
Champions League action there on the Irish Times sports section. Glazers' 13-year ownership of United has left the club struggling also, from David Kahn on the lower half there. And the Irish News as well, just to bring you this story here, we just wanted to mention Walsh worried about boxing's future, and this is obviously in relation to its future participation in the Olympics. Olympic absence would see amateur game die a death. It's already certainly not in the position that it was in a few years ago. Billy Walsh down in the Irish News concerned to its future.
Back page of the Irish Daily Mail this morning says, cap in hand, England come for Rice with a big promise. That's David Sned and Philip Quinn's story, and minor kingpin Keane to be named Kerry boss. Deeply concerned by the disturbing claim then, what Nike said about their golden boy. Full story there in the inside. Ronaldo, Nike and EA Sports both voicing concerns. Juventus backing their star in a couple of statements released yesterday evening. On the back page of the Herald, it's a family affair now. Declan's dad and brothers are on our side, says O'Neill. Keane gets Kerry job while Horan is in for Mayo. And Richard Dunn's column says Rice looks a lost cause for Irish. Back page then of the Mirror is Rice dream. Ireland boss believes West Ham star's family want player to pick Ireland over England, which is the sort of hope here. Is the family of Declan Rice going to be persuasive enough to actually move Declan Rice into an Ireland? Like, are they pushy parents, basically?
Well, it seems like the whole family is saying, dude, play for Ireland.
But are they? Are they like saying, you know what, it'd be great if you played for Ireland, but you can make your own decision?
Well, there's a line in some of the papers this morning about his father and his brothers specifically wanting him to play for Ireland. So, I mean, I don't know. Do you just go, here, listen, will you play for Ireland? and then you leave it at that, or are you like every day, you know, sending tricolours via WhatsApp?
But ultimately, you're this fella's family. You want to see whatever makes this fella happy.
Pints of Guinness.
Greenfields. They do.
Skellig Vickle.
Well, you know, all those things are bringing a smile to my face this morning.
Lockery.
Yeah, absolutely. Carmen nightclub Athlone. A couple of other stories on the back of the Mirror. James and Pete chasing Dubs. Red Bull gives you a beating. And also players turn on negative Jose. It's an exclusive here by David Anderson reporting that Jose Mourinho's lost a number of key players in the dressing room. Now, the back page of the Sun this morning is what the deck. Rice confusion but no resolution. Peter Keyman for Kingdom, a win for Arsenal, a win for Chelsea, Juve backing Ronaldo, and Martin O'Neill there as well. I just want to show the front page of the Sun this morning. Fight Club reads the headline. Conor's son won, outshines dad in €470 outfit. So they show a picture of Conor Jr. here, who was at the open workout yesterday. His Dolce & Gabbana outfit, the top cost €65. The 3/4 lengths cost €186 and the shoes cost €218. He's got a good get up, and Fight Club is tab of the morning to your best headline.
I was wondering because I thought Rice Dream was certainly in the mix.
It was until he put like a kid in the front who's wearing like almost €500 worth of gear.
Yeah.
You didn't know that Conor's son was called Conor until this morning.
This morning I was flabbergasted.
Back page of the Irish Daily Star is bromance. O'Neill banks on Rice's brothers to keep him green, and chaotic day as talk of England decision unfounded. And finally, back page of The Guardian this morning is England's 21st century boy. He is dominating the back pages across the water this morning. It's Jadon Sancho. He's the first in the squad to be born this millennium. He is the Borussia Dortmund wunderkind, to use a German term for
German lovely, you're going with that, yeah.
And marksman Morata, striker ends drought with Chelsea winner, is the picture there in the back of The Guardian.
Reminder that we've got Leinster Munster tickets to give away to you this morning. We're just looking for the best comments to come our way on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whatever way you want to get in contact with us, do that and we'll put you in the mix. Any rugby comments, we've Alan Quinlan coming your way in just a little bit. We have Niall McGrath as well on the line from Las Vegas. That is all to come, and Will is going to come in and bring us up to speed with everything that's happening in the world of live sport this morning as well. But before all of that, Jonathan Walters appeared on the Keith Andrews show yesterday. The Keith Andrews show coming your way I'm not going to say every Thursday, but most Thursdays around about lunchtime. It was a pretty interesting watch yesterday, John, in conversation with Keith and Joe as well, about a 25-minute piece to discuss. The Keane incident came up, and interesting to hear what went on there. You can watch the full interview over on YouTube, but here's a flavour.
Did you need a phone call to sort things out? Like, I mean, Keith's talking about how the game has changed and you kind of can stand up for yourself and you're experienced. And, like, did you have to have clear-the-air talks for you to come back into the squad after the summer? Or how is it left? How are these things sorted out with you and, say, Roy in this instance? How is it sorted out?
No, I didn't have a phone call.
Were you looking for one?
I don't know Harry's situation. I don't know if he's had a phone call. I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Was he looking for one? No, I just get on with it. But did they have a sit down and chat and talk through? No, that's just where it is. I'm not. Whether that's me, I don't know. I just carried on, and I always want to play. I always very proud to, and nothing's going to stop me from turning up to do that. That's how I feel. So whatever happened, I wasn't going to let it stop me from going, no, I'm not going to not turn up because of that. So
I guess that's the experience. Because I sometimes wonder, you know, so say you're in an environment like that, you're there for weeks on end. You don't want that tension there either, because I mean it's a constant thing. You get in for breakfast and you have to do a quick scan of the room. You get in the elevator. It's like, geez, you better not be. You know, if this door opens and it's you know who, then you don't want that, because that's an energy drainer for you across the week, I would presume.
You're right, and that's why it's important as a group of lads. It's a good group, because at that time you have as well. It's a long time away, and things happen when you're away, and between lads, you know, it's like on a camp. It's a long time, and it's very hard thing to say. Can be a very lonely place, and I'm very comfortable in my own space and things like that. But some lads might find it more difficult, but it is, and that's why it's important to have a tight-knit group.
Jon Walters in conversation with Keith Andrews yesterday on the Keith Andrews show. Interesting stuff. He didn't say a lot about Roy Keane, but sort of telling the Roy Keane situation, I should say, sort of telling in that he did say at some stage over the course of that conversation that it's not for today, that we'll get into it at some point down the track. I'll be fascinated to hear when he does get into it at some point down the line, because he clearly has something to say about it.
I think they all have something to say about it. It's like Roy Keane's words the other night talking about the players who perhaps don't have that sort of capacity to kind of take criticism from a manager. Crybabies, I think, is the term he used. And then with Harry Arter coming back into the squad the following day, it is a weird juxtaposition of events, isn't it? I don't think, certainly when I saw those quotes, kind of getting to them yesterday morning, I was like, well, that's that then, isn't it? Closed book, Harry Arter, he'll never play for Ireland again once Roy Keane is involved. And then suddenly, yesterday afternoon, he is involved in the team, or in the squad, which I find remarkable. It shows, I guess you could say, it's huge maturity from Harry Arter to say, I don't care, I'm back in. But maybe there was a lot of maturity shown on the side of Mark O'Neill and Roy Keane as well. We don't know. Was there a good, to use Jim Cavan's term, a frank discussion with them and the player? Who knows?
I can absolutely wholeheartedly get on board with that idea that, you know, they cop a lot of heat and have copped a lot of heat over that, and rightly so. But at the same time, to be adult enough at some point or another to go, look, actually we just need this fella in the team, let's go and fix it. The accounts are that Roy Keane went and apologised for it, so I mean, if that's brought a happy resolution to it, we've all taken the learnings from it.
Yeah, I've certainly learned a lot from this.
Expression du jour. Right, another quick clip of Jon Walters from the show yesterday in conversation with Keith. This one is in relation to Ireland and their style of play and what they're trying to achieve on the pitch when they go out to play football.
And get on the ball and express yourselves. Give us your side of that. Like, are Martin and Roy insisting that we try and play from the back? Have we kind of accepted as a team maybe going a bit more direct suits us? Like, when we're watching Ireland, what should we be expecting to see on the ball? Like, what is the aim? What is the vision on a given week to do when Ireland get the ball, when the right back gets the ball or the goalkeeper gets the ball?
Yeah, I know exactly where you come from, because you've played in games and you think, right, we're going to keep it, we're going to do this first 10 minutes, we're going to turn them so we create space, and then we're going to get on the ball, and then it seems like you work so hard to get the ball back, especially if you're playing as one of the forwards, you work so hard to get the ball back, and when you do win it back, it's the old everyone's really tired, so no one really shows for the ball, there's no real options, and I think we've got to get into our heads that it's not just working hard when you go back, win the ball back. You've got to work even harder to make angles for your friend, to help them out, because the person on the ball needs at least 2 options, 3 options, 4 options, because then when they do, they can pick the right option. But if you don't have any options and everyone's tired from working back, and you think, oh, it's easy things to do, just to stand there and let the guy have the ball and put it long.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. He's going to face a bit of a spell, obviously, on the sidelines. You can check out that full conversation with Keith Andrews over on youtube.com/off the ball. And if you subscribe to it and hit the full functionality of that, we'll let you know whenever we are going live with some more off the ball goodness. Right, it's 8:20 on this Friday morning. Delighted to have you along with us. Lots of comments coming in. We'll bring some of those your way in a little bit. Stephen Walker says, very simply, morning lads on Facebook. Good morning to you, Stephen. Craig Breen is a guy that we have checked in with from time to time. We're going to do exactly that now. The Day Ensure Wales Rally GB cranks into gear today. Waterford's Craig Breen still awaiting his maiden victory in a round of the World Rally Championship for his Citroën Total Abu Dhabi WR team.
High off the ball, yeah, so the rally started tonight here with a relatively good run on the stage. We were one of the first cars, actually the first small rally car to start the stage, so it cleaned up a lot afterwards, and some of the other times got faster, but still just a handful of seconds off the lead of the rally, starting the proper stages tomorrow, so we're really looking forward to it. One of my favourite rallies here. The stages are in great shape, and we're ready to give it hammer and tongs for the next couple of days and see what happens.
Yeah, Craig Breen in Wales ahead of this weekend's Rally Championship. He's also describing it as his home rally as well, so let's hope he can go well for this weekend. I'm sure we'll hear from him post that as well. Stephanie Meadow, the Irish golfers, regained. Meanwhile, her PGA Tour card this week. Great achievement for her. Golf Weekly spoke to her a few months ago, you might remember, and she had a lot to say, Nathan, in conversation with her. It was particularly interesting to hear her speak about the impact that losing her father had on her career. The full interview over on YouTube, but here's a short clip.
Yeah, so I did that, and then, but I kept battling, played, but I just wasn't there. Like mentally, I was physically there, but mentally just not the same person, and that took a long time.
Golf must be one of the most difficult sports as well then, when you're getting back on track, to get that balance right, because you say it's such a mental game, and you're so close to your dad, and he's so intertwined in everything that's happened in your career, that you want to go out and do it for him. But actually having that emotion,
it's hard.
Isn't really the best thing to have with you when you're teeing it up in a golf course.
Yeah, it's just a constant reminder. And that was the hardest part for me. Was golf was the biggest reminder of my dad, and I couldn't focus. But I started to look at it and say, okay, well, this is great that I had that connection with my dad on the golf course, and I can feel close to him when I'm out there and use that in a positive way, instead of being absolutely completely torn up about it. The pain, it's always there, it's always hard, but it does get a little easier.
Yeah, and definitely a bit easier when you regain your LPGA card as well. So congratulations to Stephanie Meadow. OTB AM is live with Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products. So it is 23 minutes past 8 on this Friday morning. Will O'Callaghan, a very good morning to you.
Morning, lads.
We've been discussing the big developments across all the back pages this morning, but big news from GEA.
Yeah, James Horn last night appointed. He says he can't wait to be working again with the Mayo senior footballers. It's 4 years on from ending his spell in charge. The Ballintubber man has been handed a new 4-year term to succeed Stephen Rochford. His management team will be concluded by Ballycastle's Daniel Ford, Martin Barrett of Kiltane and Arndary Sarsfield's James Burke. During his previous spell, Horn led Mayo to back-to-back All-Ireland finals in 2012 and 2013. As you were discussing on the papers, Wayne Kearns was confirmed as the new Louth senior football manager as well. The former minor boss succeeds Pete McGrath, who stepped down after less than a year in charge. The Cork hurling manager John Myler is hoping they can go a couple of steps further in 2019. The back-to-back Munster champions lost out in the semi-finals for the second year in a row, losing to eventual champions Limerick after extra time this term. I spoke to the Wexford native last night, and he's already looking ahead to next year's campaign. John, I guess 2018 was the case of so near yet so far when you reflect back in that semi-final.
Look, 6 points up with 8 minutes to go, and an opportunity to get into an All-Ireland final, and well done to Limerick. They got 7 single points in a row, and after extra time we were out on our knees in the dressing room, so, and we really didn't drive on with that 8 minutes to go, so that's something which we have to learn and to put right for 2019, and no doubt we will.
But still, it shows that you were right there in the final straights against the eventual All-Ireland champions. It was a big step on from a heavy semi-final defeat against Waterford 12 months previously.
Yeah, there has been a huge improvement in 2018, there's no doubt about that, and we were missing a couple of players that had a huge role in 2017. Alan Caddick and Stephen MacDonald played big parts in 2017, so we welcome the two of those back into the panel now for 2019. We need to look for a few more players to try and add more value, more experience, that to strengthen our squad again, and we were close, but Limerick had that extra little edge going all year, and composure and that, and we're worthy winners in the end.
You're battle hardened though, after this year that's just gone by. That Munster championship was a hell of a championship to come through and win.
It was a hell of a championship to win, but if you think that was one, what about 2019? And you have 2 new managers, Pádraig Fanning in Waterford and Liam Sheedy in Tipperary. They're going to bring enormous experience to their counties. Clare and Limerick are there as well, and ourselves. So look, Munster's going to be extremely competitive in 2019, starting on the 12th of May here against Tipperary, and then the following week against Limerick. So the supporters will be looking forward to those games, but there's not really a puck of the ball between the 5 teams in Munster, so you need to take your opportunities on the day.
The fixtures computer, I suppose, 3 of the 2 most difficult fixtures possible, really, to start with.
Well, really, that's look, playing Tip here in your first game, that's really what you want. You know what's coming. Sheedy is coming to Cork to try and get 2 points for Tip. We need to get 2 points for Cork, and that's really it. So, you'll be focused on that game straight away. There's no doubt about that.
And John Myler was speaking at the announcement of Chill Insurance 2-year extension as the sponsor of the Cork Senior and Under 21 teams. It'll run through until 2020 and is worth 7 figures to Cork. Nike, meanwhile, say they're deeply concerned by the disturbing allegations facing Cristiano Ronaldo. The Juventus forward is facing a civil case which has been filed by a woman who alleges she was raped by him at a hotel in Las Vegas back in 2009. The criminal case into the matter was also reopened in Nevada this week. Ronaldo is denying the allegations which have been made against him, and his club Juventus last night offered their public support in a series of tweets. Nike, however, and EA Sports, of which he's also the cover star for FIFA 19, say that they will continue to closely monitor the situation there. On the field tonight, Dundalk can be crowned SSE Airtricity League Premier Division champions. The Lily Whites are on the verge of their 4th crown in 5 years. Dundalk are 12 points ahead of Cork City at the top of the table with 4 games to play. It means a draw against St Pat's tonight will be enough to secure the crown. Cork make the trip to Tala to face 3rd place Shamrock Rovers this evening. Bohemians welcome European hopefuls Waterford to Dalymount, and Limerick entertain Derry. Ulster and Connacht will meet at Kingspan Ravenhill tonight, with both looking to recover from defeats last week. Jacob Stockdale and captain Rory Best make their first appearances of the season for Ulster. Jared Butler and Matt Healy are back in the Connacht side. Connacht haven't won in Belfast for 58 seasons. Kick-off tonight is at 25-8. And both Padraig Harrington and Paul McGinley are just a shot off the lead following the opening day of the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship. They're 3 under par after shooting rounds of 69 at Kings Barnes. They go to Carnoustie today, and that is the scene of Harrington's win, Adrian, in the Open back in 2007.
Good stuff. Well, thanks million for that. Just a couple of quick comments before we go to Vegas. Paul Gillen on YouTube talks about our conversation about Mayo Galway, but the curse, he says, can't be better poised than Galway with that. So there we go. It's the curse. It's, you know, it's never going to happen with the curse. Let's go to Las Vegas. Niall McGrath reporting.
Niall McGrath here in Las Vegas, Nevada for offtheball.com. Press conference just wrapped up. 24 hours to the biggest fight in UFC history. Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov for the World UFC Lightweight title. The fans were in full voice here today. Conor McGregor was also in great spirits. It's a bit of a shame Khabib Nurmagomedov walked out of the press conference and we didn't get to see that confrontation in the face-off. I caught up with some of my media colleagues here on the ground in Las Vegas, Nevada, to look forward to the fight and get some predictions also from the fans.
One of the reasons why this fight is so big and it's getting so much attention is that because people really don't know what's going to happen. The conventional wisdom, right, is that if McGregor's going to win, it's going to be by knockout early. If Khabib is going to win, it's going to be a long, slow burn of a beatdown. I really have no idea how it's going to happen, but I am very curious to see how they look at weigh-ins and also how they look when they get into the octagon on Saturday.
Brazil is paying attention to this fight, especially because of Conor, you know. He got very famous after beating Jose Aldo, so everybody's trying to look to this fight. Khabib has a couple of fans, but I think a lot of people are trying to see how Conor will react in front of somebody who is 26-0, you know, and a wrestler who actually beat a lot of Brazilians as well.
So what's the ideal scenario for you then, going forward, you know, in the result of the main event? Because, you know, those fights with Khabib have fallen out in the past. Are the UFC likely to try that again?
I want to see them show up. I signed up with Khabib, I don't know how many fucking times. I mean, you guys know. And I signed up with Conor too, and he ducked me as well.
When was that?
Shit, ask him, man. I mean, the dude actually literally, I signed on a dotted line and he never signed. So yeah, I don't know if you guys know that. Yeah, that shit was never out there. Conor literally ducked me, okay?
I think here in Las Vegas, man, the atmosphere is really starting to build. You know, I think we were the same as well as a lot of people concerned that maybe the feeling wasn't there, that maybe there wasn't as much attention being played to this as there was. But now as we're getting closer, you can definitely feel it. You can definitely feel the energy. You can feel the fans coming in town, you know, getting around. Of course, the fighters themselves are bringing it. But it is starting to get that big fight Las Vegas feel.
In terms of your fight, you know, ahead of Diaz-Poirier, do you feel as though this is going to put you guys in line next for a title shot?
Well, my fight against Poirier, and that's another one, like the mental fights that I was off again. He's a tough dude, man. I mean, if Poirier gets a title shot, he deserves it. That's his all right. You know, he beats Diaz, he deserves a title shot. So, like I said, I'm gonna let this mature and happen the way it's supposed to happen. I go out there, handle business. I'm in a good spot.
This is the fight I've been looking for since April. I was there at UFC 223 as well, and when Conor did that, I was very shocked.
I couldn't believe he did what he did, but this is what made him, this is what re-energized him to come back to the sport. This is a perfect opponent. They're both each other's kryptonites. I just think Conor's gonna be able to get it done. Khabib is one-dimensional, only wrestling, no striking, no defense. He'll be stopped within 2 rounds.
15 minutes. 15 minutes, I'm here. This guy didn't come. This is big disrespect. Thank you so much.
The big caveat for me is that he's been away for 2 years. Is he a parody of himself now? He doesn't look that way. He looks ready for action again, like he's had his time away, he's had his R&R, and he's keen to get back in there again and show that there's magic in those Irish bones. He's one of the best strikers we've ever seen in MMA. He creates angles, he creates a shield for himself with the illusions that he creates with his movement and his feet. His striking is pinpoint accurate, and it's that stuff that will get him out of trouble in this fight. For me, he can get taken down a couple of times and get up. If he gets taken down a 3rd time in this fight, for me it's all over, because he'll get exhausted by Khabib, who will win by a mauling. But I do fancy Conor to get the job done in the first round, round and a half.
It all goes down here tomorrow night at the T-Mobile Arena. Khabib Nurmagomedov against Conor McGregor for the UFC World Lightweight title. You've heard the media picks, you've heard the fan reactions. It's going to be your classic striker versus grappler matchup. Nothing in it for me on this one, but I am siding towards Conor McGregor to get the job done here in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yeah, quite the atmosphere in Las Vegas last night. Our time was about sort of 10:30, 11 o'clock when all of that went down, and we're flipping the tables now because Niall McGrath joins us live on the line from Vegas. Niall, and it must be after midnight?
Yeah, it's about 12:30. Busy all day up at 6 this morning, so need a bit of shut-eye soon, but yeah, exciting times. Everything's building up nicely here, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think the atmosphere is definitely gone into overdrive as well. A lot of Irish coming in today, so lots to look forward to here in Vegas, and very excited.
So for anybody who was curled up in their bed last night and is on their way into work now this morning, what exactly happened last night? It wasn't the joint press conference we'd seen the last time.
Yeah, I think, Khabib, it was quite interesting for me. He came out bang on 3 o'clock. Conor McGregor, typically late, didn't show up till 3:30. Khabib left 20 minutes after 3 o'clock. And, I think maybe we should read into that a little bit. There's a couple of lines we can take from that. Maybe, Khabib had a little bit more weight to cut. He said, Conor was disrespecting him. That's why he wanted to leave. Maybe he didn't want to get, more invested emotionally, I think, into this fight. Because I think we saw it yesterday after the open workout in Las Vegas. He came on the mic. He started shouting at the Irish, slagging the Irish people. So I think maybe it could be either a clever tactic or there could be something else behind it from Khabib. But a very relaxed Conor McGregor when he came out. I think that's the Conor McGregor that we saw today, is a very, very dangerous Conor McGregor. When he's thriving off the crowd, he's relaxed, he's chilled out. He's definitely getting in fight mode for Saturday night.
Yeah, it was a much more, and you almost might have expected it the other way around, it was much more measured McGregor maybe. I don't know if that was all down to the absence of Khabib.
Yeah, I think so. He was just, very cool, very calm, very collected. And I think, he would have heard the comments that Khabib made about his grandfather the night before. He's obviously done a little bit of research as well. So, it's interesting for me that Conor was so relaxed. And I think, it's probably a good sign for Conor. And I've changed my mind again. I've gone Khabib 2 months ago when the fight was announced. Then I went to Conor. Then I went back to Khabib. And, the further the week has gone on, I've sort of leaned towards Conor. And I think it has a lot to do with the psychological element of this fight going in Saturday night.
Yeah, I know the lads were talking to Chris Fields during the week, and he did a fairly deep dive in terms of the tactical analysis of it. An interesting watch. But I mean, the consensus generally seems to be, Niall, and interested to get your thoughts and the thoughts of the people who were milling about Vegas over the last couple of days in terms of how this one goes. It's McGregor knocks him out in 2 rounds, or if it goes any further than that, this is Khabib's.
Yeah, I don't really like picking fights, but yeah, no, that is the way. It's the classic striker versus grappler matchup, and I think, and maybe something people are kind of forgetting, it's Conor's been out for 2 years, but has he really been out for 2 years? He had that fight against Floyd Mayweather, and that boxing and that boxing training is really going to stand to him. The takedown defense has been vastly improved over the years as he's progressed as a mixed martial artist. So yeah, I think that is for Conor. I think he's 10 minutes to win the fight in the first 2 rounds.
He's had issues with the gas tank. As Camp have said, it's been some of the best cardio he's ever shown in the build-up to a fight. For Khabib, the longer the fight goes, I feel the better chance. But listen, I just don't see this fight going the distance. I don't think it's going to go outside of 3 rounds. Scheduled for 5, but I think this is going to be finished in 2.
Is there any chance we have a complete shock in terms of style and how this matchup might actually finish? Because Dana White, speaking on ESPN last night, was saying that Khabib Nurmagomedov has beaten many great strikers in the past. Like, are we completely writing off Khabib's striking skills because he's such a bloody good grappler?
I think Dana's just selling the fight on that one. I think, Michael Johnson, decent, good boxer. Ally Quinta, decent striker. Khabib has never fought someone with the hands of Conor McGregor. He's fought a great striker in Edson Barbosa, but that would be predominantly Edson's leg kicks. I've mentioned possibly to some of my colleagues this week here in Las Vegas in the ground that we could potentially see a fight like we saw between Tyron Woodley and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, where I think there was 20 shots thrown in the whole fight in their second fight. It was very tactical, but I really don't expect that. I just think both guys, when they're going on the front foot here, that's what they're going to look for, and that's how they're going to finish the fight and win the fight, is by going out in the front foot. And for me, that just spells fireworks.
Obviously, in the first press conference, Niall, it was dominated by geopolitical disses from Conor McGregor, which was an interesting departure, which obviously, as there's been many great pieces written over the last couple of weeks, was based in fact, which was based in real information about Khabib, which a lot of us didn't know about. Is there any suggestion that this is actually going to spill out into anything that might actually result in, I don't know, I don't want to say fan trouble or anything, but it might be evident on the streets of Las Vegas, say, over the next couple of days? Have you seen anything of that sort?
No, I haven't. It's been all very good spirits so far. A lot of singing today, and at the press conference, there was a queue of Irish going around that actually couldn't get into the Park Theatre here in Las Vegas. Just right behind me there is the Park Theatre where the press conference was on. I haven't seen many Russians around. I'm expecting an influx of Russians because there's a huge community across America, obviously, as we know. No, and hopefully it stays that way, because I think it'd be, a massive cloud over this fight, and I think we should really be celebrating the fact that we have such a big fight. A fight here in Las Vegas could potentially break the Las Vegas pay-per-view record, and that's a phenomenal stat. That's including boxing as well. Dana's talking, I think, 3.5 million pay-per-view buys it's trending for at the moment. So, this could be, very big history in the world of combat sports. So hopefully that element doesn't creep into it, and I don't expect it to creep in here in Las Vegas.
In terms of indicators from previous fights, now, what opponent could we look at that was as similar to Khabib that Conor McGregor has fought up to this point, and what indicators can we take from that in terms of how this fight's going to go?
He's a different beast in terms of grappling, but you probably go along the lines against Chad Mendes, who's a very decorated wrestler and a high-level wrestler. We saw Chad take down Conor. He weathered the storm there, and I think Conor's better than people give him credit for on the ground. But in terms of grappling and the way Khabib mauls his opponents, literally when he gets him on the ground, he does something fascinating where he tries to trap his opponent's arm. So his opponent effectively has one arm in the ground and trying to land shots to open up his opponent. It's just a different beast to what Conor's ever fought before in terms of a grappler. And I don't think you can really prepare for him. And I think Conor's just going to focus on his takedown defence and striking. And as I said, I'd be very surprised if it goes outside 2 rounds.
And just to recap again, your view is that, I know you've listened to you during the week as well, you can, as tends to happen in the lead into these things, you can sway one way or the other. Where are you at?
I'm at Conor within 2. I think, over the last couple of days, that sort of changed my mind. But Khabib's, trash talk there yesterday after the open workout seemed very emotional. The fact he left today as well, I don't think he wanted to be around Conor, because I think Conor's already got underneath the skin. I think that's a massive part of the fight. I think Conor's striking is going to be too much. I've seen too many holes in Khabib's stand-up over the last 2 fights, and I think McGregor's going to clip him within 2. And I think he's going to take back that World UFC lightweight title. But I could change my mind tomorrow.
Well, we'll hear from you tomorrow. Niall, thanks a million. Get some sleep.
Good luck, lads. Cheers.
Niall McGrath there, live on the line from the Excalibur Hotel in Las Vegas, previewing all the action this weekend as Conor McGregor prepares to take on Khabib. And it'll be interesting to see how it goes. We'll have much more, as I said, from Niall over the course of the weekend. There'll be plenty of you. Stay tuned to our social channels and on the radio as well. All that good stuff coming your way.
Are you a get up or a stay up guy?
I'll get up in the morning and see what happened guy.
Not get up for the fight. It's like
no chance.
What time did you get up at this morning? Like 5, half 5? It's not too much before that.
Get up at, about 5:15, yeah. Well, the only slight difference is that I'll be at a wedding on Saturday, and there's no chance I'm getting up in the middle of the night.
But like the wedding will rage on till 5 or 6 in the morning anyway. You may as well just stay up.
It will rage on, yes. Yeah.
You won't, no?
I definitely will not.
Right, that's an interesting departure, isn't it?
Interesting insight into my life, or not. Paul Gillen's been in touch on YouTube. He says, this was our conversation. Did I mention this already? I did. With another comment there from James O'Sullivan, who says, PK Super Value, whatever about the sausage rolls, the apple tarts are savage.
Yes. How could I forget that?
Are they baked in-house?
Oh, man, are they? What? Of course they are.
And what's the like? I hate to keep harping back to it, but the pastry to filling ratio is the key for me in how these things.
Now he may be talking about the actual apple pies, but I'm talking about the little apple pies.
No, he said apple tart.
He said apple tart. Okay, so he's talking about the apple tart. I'm talking about the little apple pies here.
Right.
Oh my god.
They tend to be all pastry and very little filling.
Well, any preconceptions you have about the pastry game, forget it when you walk into PK's in Croglan, quite frankly.
So all baked in house. These are not like Super Value sort of made things that get circulated around the country.
They have some homemade stuff in there.
Right.
Is all I'm saying.
Right.
And it has to be seen to be believed. You have to walk through those automatic doors, and you can kind of get a sense that you're in kind of a holy church of pastry goodness. That's all I'm saying. Right. If Ireland had Greg's, it would be PK's.
I haven't still fully got to the bottom of the sausage to pastry ratio for the sausage rolls. You haven't really sated my thirst for that dynamic.
Hunger, probably, rather than thirst. But yeah, 2-1 is what I said. I gave you a fairly definite answer at the end.
Richard Kenny on YouTube suggests a nude off-the-ball Christmas calendar on the horizon.
You gotta go for it, Adrian.
I've absolutely no idea
12 pages of Adrian Barry.
It ain't happening. And Juan Jose, we'll leave it at this one on YouTube, says John Myler with the 2019 Munster Championship dates ingrained in the mind already. Let the games begin.
Yeah. The draw is surely up and coming soon. It's about that time when the championship draw takes place. It's only been, whatever, six weeks since the championship. Surely it's got to happen within the 10-week conclusion of the championship for fear that we forget about GAA.
Now, Alan Quinlan is standing by and he's going to be coming your way very, very shortly indeed. We're going to preview the weekend, interesting weekend of rugby ahead, so I'm going to get into all that in just a minute. But before all that, New York Times best-selling author Jeff Pearlman was on the show last night to discuss his new book, Football for a Buck, The Crazy Rise and Crazier Demise of the USFL. It focuses on the role Donald Trump played in the league's collapse.
I mean, look at Donald Trump's career. He tried buying the Colts, failed. Tried meeting with Pete Rozelle, failed. Tried suing the NFL, failed. Tried buying the Dallas Cowboys, failed. Tried buying the Buffalo Bills, failed. For the NFL, he sure wanted to be in the NFL. The whole patriotism thing where he's killing Colin Kaepernick for kneeling. Donald Trump during the USFL would regularly talk on the phone, do business while the anthem is playing, sitting in his box. It's all nonsense. It all dates back to his dislike and distrust, not even distrust, his dislike and his rejection from the USFL. It has nothing to do with patriotism. This guy, again, I always say this, and I can say this to you. I mean, this is a guy who gave $0 and 0 cents to 9/11 causes after 9/11 in his own hometown. This is a guy who spent 4 years insisting that the sitting president of the United States was a Kenyan-born Muslim and that he had proof. I mean, the lack of patriotism that this guy has shown through the years. This is a guy who mocked John McCain, a POW, for being captured. So for this guy to have the audacity to talk about patriotism and heroism, it's a joke. It's a total joke. It's just a con. Like Pete Rozelle knew long ago, and the owner of the tenants used to say, it's just a con.
Yeah, keep your comments coming in. We've had some good ones already, and every rugby comment that comes away, and we've a few of them we'll get to in the next few minutes, is in the hat to win this pair of beauties here. A couple of tickets to Leinster v Munster in the Pro 12 at the Aviva tomorrow, so keep your comments coming in. And if you are the winner, Tommy will be in touch. Alan Quinlan, good morning to you.
Good morning, Adrian.
How's it going?
Grand, no,
Big Donald Trump fan?
Why do you ask?
We just had him on there, a clip of...
I didn't see that, no. No, I'm not a big Donald Trump fan. No, I'm not.
Right. Big weekend obviously ahead, and sort of, back, the run of interprovincials continue, and we're on the brink, obviously, the Heineken Cup returning as well. So I sort of started to look at this one during the week, got quite excited by the idea of Jonathan Sexton versus Joey Carberry at the Aviva tomorrow, but it looks like it ain't going to happen.
Yeah, which is disappointing. I think might be better for Munster, but they've shown Leinster in the last couple of fixtures that they're strong enough to win without him. The depth they have, and Ross Byrne, obviously, if he starts, a quality player, did really well last year. But I suppose from a fan's point of view, You want to see the best players in this fixture, and it's something that's been debated over the last number of years. Is it right? Is it wrong? I think it's right from a player management point of view, in a sense that they seem to sacrifice these fixtures now, particularly around Christmas, and not this one historically. This one usually is as full as they get. It's usually the Christmas ones that are kind of mixed and matched between in the interpros. But I was surprised Johnny Sexton was back a couple of weeks ago. Historically, the most of the internationals wouldn't start.
So they're bringing him back. They'll rest him this week.
They wouldn't get up and running till round 3 or 4. But this year they've been back a little bit earlier, and they're obviously looking at this with little opportunity to maybe rest some guys. Peter O'Mahony may not start for Munster. He started the last 3 as well.
From Carberry's point of view, is it because we don't know that he's going to start either for sure? I mean, it'd be fascinating even to see Ross Byrne against him, and just because that's sort of the battle almost for the second spot. But from Johan van Grant's point of view, is the smart thing to almost take him out of the firing line, because they're obviously very recent.
I don't know, I'm mixed on this. Obviously I haven't played for Munster for so long, and the red goggles on a little bit. Part of me says play your best team for Munster, try and go up there, get a result. They haven't won there since 2014, and you know, they've one win in the last 7 fixtures, which is not a good return. And you know, you want to try and go there and get the best team out in the field. Another side of me then says, well, you play Joey Carberry, will that drive on the Leinster guys a little bit more to say, well, there's a bit of niggle there that he's left us and we didn't want him to go, and he's now playing with our biggest rivals. So it's kind of mixed. It's a bit of a conundrum for Johan van Grant. I'd probably leave him out. I'd play Keithley or Jay Jahan.
For that reason. Then.
Yeah, because look, you probably don't want a bit of a sideshow and something that's going to inspire him a little bit more. Maybe there'd be a bit too much pressure on him. Go and play that fixture, but look, maybe he'll want that.
It's tough, isn't it? It's
depends
a tough
what
balance,
the individual wants himself.
Almost if you take him out, you're like, oh well, look, we don't want to get ready for that.
We're minding him, and you know, look, he's a top quality player who maybe needs that experience, and maybe it'll benefit him. It could have a negative effect. So that's the kind of risk reward scenario. He's someone who could win the game for Munster. He's that good that he can change a game. He's a quality player. And you know, they've Europe next week. They've Exeter away. It's a massive game for them. Are you not going to play your fly half? It's going to start next week. I think, you know, I don't know. It's a strange one. Maybe he will start. I think the Peter O'Mahony one was probably, you know, he may not play, just down to the number of games, and because any of the players will have to play in Europe in the next 2 weeks. It's a massive part of the season for them, and then they've Pro 14 again, and they're straight into November internationals, 4 of them this time, which is a bit longer now. Again, there'll be a bit of room to manoeuvre and change the teams there with Italy, Argentina, New Zealand and USA in that order. I think there'll be opportunities for some guys to put their hand up. But it's a busy few weeks, and Leinster probably have the luxury of making those changes, because I think they look back to the one last Christmas when they went to Limerick and won with a lot of changes, and it just goes to show how much depth they have. Yeah. But there's pressure on Munster now because they have a little bit more depth.
Well, that's the thing, like you've mentioned that point before, that the real difference maker between Leinster and Munster, particularly last season, was the depth that they had. In a weird way,
depth and quality as well. Look, they've so many good players who were involved in the Irish squad as well. So closing that gap for Munster is get more guys in the Irish team, and then you know then the gap narrows a little bit.
But 2 half teams going up against each other is the exact barometer of how deep your squad is. So in reality, is the way it's set up right before Europe with not your top talent playing, whoever's played over the last couple of weeks, with them not being available. Does this actually give us an accurate representation of where these 2 teams are at?
It probably not. Munster's biggest problem has been their away form, the Glasgow and Cardiff game. They're now away this weekend. They've got to solve that problem quickly. They may not get the result, but they've got to play well, and they've got to really be in this fixture and in the match to take some confidence, because they're going to an incredibly difficult place next week, away to Exeter. Consistency in selection is something that we don't see a lot of it anymore, because with the depth of squads and because the amount of change that happens. Who'll play in the centres for Munster tonight? You know, Dan Goggin played there last week. He was superb, and you know, Rory Scannell. Will Sam Arnold come back in there? Will Jaco Taute come in there? who's going to play fly half. We have this uncertainty. I think Matheson will probably start at scrum half. He was really good last week for him. You know, so there's been a lot of chopping and changing for both sides, but for Munster, they can't leave tomorrow with a really negative result, negative performance, I would say. Their intensity was questioned there last year a little bit when they went there. Reggie asked Peter O'Mahony that question. I think it was a fairly legitimate question, but it obviously irked Peter and frustrated him. I think it was misconstrued, the way the question was and what kind of a meaning he wanted. But I think Munster have to step up. Leinster were really good last week away in Connacht. They're robust, they're aggressive, they're physical. They've now got Sean O'Brien back in the mix. He'll probably start the game tomorrow. What a player to come back in. James Ryan is coming back. Dan Levy's coming back. When you start rattling off the names, they're incredibly consistent.
And it's going to be a sellout
performance. Yeah, it is. And I think, look, it just shows how popular the game is and how popular rugby has gone. Some people may kind of question the excitement and the hype around it. Like this fixture in my time was, and Rob Kearney said it this week, and he played in a lot of those in his earlier days. There was a lot of hatred. There was a lot of the build-ups were massive. And
would that be spoken about, Quinny? Would that be like an overt thing in the dressing room?
Well, he didn't want to lose because there was a massive emphasis on obviously the rivalry between any teams in soccer, GA, whatever, local clubs playing each other at any level. You don't want to lose. You want to be the ones that are going for a few pints that night and meeting the fans or the supporters or whatever in the local town. That you don't want to be the one that has lost it, and that drives you on a bit more. Obviously this is professional sport, and a lot of these guys play for the national team. Some of them have played probably for Ireland before they've played in one of these fixtures, you know what I mean? Look at Jordan Larmour. He was playing for Ireland last year before probably he experienced, so he doesn't really know anything about. He likes all probably the Munster guys because they're teammates of Ireland and stuff.
It's like,
so yeah, it's a good.
bit more collegiate almost.
To be fair, Adrian, I'm not saying it was right that there should be. It was just the way it was for us. We came into the game with a historic kind of rivalry, even in the old Interpros. It was just Leinster-Munster was the biggest game, and for them and probably for us as well.
And how much would you engage with that as a group before you took them on? Like, or was it just something that manifested itself on the pitch, or were you in the dressing room beforehand going, we hate these
shower up?
Yeah.
And they'd probably be the same about us. Yeah, a little bit, that was there. Whereas probably more what they got to do to perform and get right on the field. Now, I think, look, it's so much more advanced now, technically, and game plans and structures and all that kind of stuff. But I suppose they still go hard at each other. It's still physical and still intense, and they don't want to lose. So I think it'd be unfair, and any of the players playing tomorrow saying, well, they don't really care as much anymore.
If it was a Heineken Cup semi-final or a final, I think that edge would be there, right? Like
yeah, I think, but even in the Pro 14 semi-final last year, it was hard, it was intense, it was physical, but there's no kind of sideshows, and which is a good thing, to be fair. I'm not saying there should be. It was just the way it was. The rugby was a little bit different. It was a bit more physical. There was a bit more pushing and shoving. That's not to say we didn't get on well when we got off the field. Like, we all got on pretty well, but I think Rob Kearney's point this week was there's probably more of a bond there now. They're kind of growing up together. They're together with each other, with Ireland a lot. They're on tours. We did a lot of that stuff as well, but they're probably hanging around with each other. There's probably no kind of Munster group over here, Leinster group over here, or Ulster or Connacht guys. So I think they're just all one now, and I think that benefits the Irish team.
So you came into it in the late 90s. You were saying a bit earlier that your first time to play against Leinster was 97, I think. So that hatred, let's call it, because that's the word that's been used this week, was that something that was with you before you came into that dressing room, or was that something that the Claw or somebody had to take you aside and go, listen, here's the story?
It's something probably you learn about the rivalry, I think, but even playing underage, like, I played on Munster under 18s, you play Leinster under 18s, it's a rival, it's a derby match effectively, so you kind of grow up with that a little bit, and it's parochial. It's the same in the GA. You play the neighbours in the village next door, you want to beat them. It's not about hatred. I think hatred's a very strong word. It's about getting the bragging rights, beating the neighbours, not letting them walk around with their chest held high, chest out, if you like. So it's not. I think hatred is a very strong word, but it's kind of that bite, I would say, even amongst the fans. I remember my sister telling me one time she went to a game in the RDS and the things you heard people say about me in the field, which maybe some are justified or unjustified, I don't know.
What sort of stuff?
Just abusive stuff, you know what I mean? And like, I remember going to the Heineken Cup semi-final in 2006 in Lansdowne Road, being on the bus, and I was injured at the time, but I remember looking out at some of the fans and the gestures from people towards us. So it wasn't just the players; it was just a big rivalry. And I think maybe with Leinster winning Heineken Cups and probably surpassing Munster, it's all just calmed down a bit now, and there's always a respect there, and I think that's important. You go back to the team, I played against Victor Costello and Reggie and Shane Byrne and all these guys. We had some great nights out together. We had brilliant fun together. We kicked the crap out of each other back in the 90s, and obviously if you go into the 2000s and carries on, and you know, Dricko and Shaggy and all these guys, they were guys that we were with all the time in the Ireland squad, so we had some great fun with them as well, and vice versa. But I think there was an envy there that maybe we'd won the Heineken Cups, and that kind of ramped up around that 2008, 2009, 2010 period, and that's where it got a bit
feisty.
Yeah, it got feisty.
Does it get mentioned when you come back, like Rob Kearney was talking about nowadays, when they go back into the camp, it's just not mentioned, the game is not mentioned, because you don't want to be, and he's a different dynamic.
He's a great man to speak about it, because he's seen kind of a journey over 12 years, the way it's kind of, the way it was, the way it is now, and it's probably not the best for the fans, like, and I think, but it's best for Ireland. You look at like Munster have won in the last 7, which kind of dilutes it a little bit. If they're going tit for tat, one wins, one there, they share over and back, they're really tight games. So it's because Leinster are probably so good now at the moment. And I think maybe if Munster closed that gap, and that's what they're trying to do, and to be fair, you know, they have been behind them for the last number of years, but everybody has, haven't they? To be fair to them. And so if Munster were going to get a result there, then that creates a bit of a bite for Christmas, for the Derby game at Christmas. So it's just, I don't know.
So, like, on that, where Johan van Graan has almost been talking about it this week, about, like, it's hard to know where Munster are at, because even the last 3 weeks we've been discussing them, we've been sort of doing a bit of this. Where are they at?
It's a good question, and if he doesn't know, I don't know. Their away form has been poor. So the great start, looked brilliant against the Cheetahs first game, and that's the issue with the league. We just sometimes we don't know what kind of teams are being sent, the away form, and it's understood a little bit for the first few weeks. Coaches are trying to give different players games, manage their squads. They had a very strong win at the start, then really poor first half in Glasgow. Great reaction. So you come off in Glasgow and you think you can learn a lot from that, because the performance in the second half was so much better. And you know, I think the Ospreys then, that was a really good positive result as well. Very cohesive, on the front foot, weaker Ospreys side, and then they go to Cardiff with that optimism. And you were slagging me a few weeks ago. I genuinely thought, on paper, you're getting close now to a really good, strong, settled side who looks really good, that can perform in Europe, that maybe could potentially be better than last year, and a real good feel to the side. And then they were horrendous in Cardiff by their own admission. They're eating 37-13. They beat a really bad Ulster team last week, but it was a very good performance from Munster and a really kind of poor performance from Ulster. So it's hard to judge. I think you can judge them better tomorrow, and that's what I'm saying is, even if they don't get the result tomorrow, which at this stage it's very difficult to go and beat Leinster in Dublin now, or beat them anywhere at that stage. They've got to walk out of the Aviva tomorrow, even if they lose the game, and say, look, there's a lot of positives there. We scored a couple of tries, our set piece was good, defensively we were strong and we competed. And then you've something to measure on going to Exeter next week, and something to build on. If they come out of there, which I don't think they will, I think the game will be tight, to be fair. It'll probably be a similar contest to that Pro 14 semi-final back in May, which I thought Munster were unlucky. They were very good in that game, and a little bit more clinical. And the one thing when you play Leinster, their defence is so strong. If you create 2-3 opportunities in the game, you've got to at least take something out of those. And Munster created a lot last year and just didn't execute in the ends. So it's understandable him saying he's not sure where they're at as well, because as a coach you judge the performances, and it's kind of been a bit of a roller coaster.
Let's take a quick look at the fixtures live on Air Sport over the next couple of days. Ulster Connacht, that game is tonight, 7:35 start there at Air Sport 1, the same channel then. Tomorrow at 6 o'clock, Leinster against Munster. And we look forward to all of that good stuff. Few comments, lots of comments coming in, I should say. Owen Quinn, who's in touch on Periscope, says, can you ask Quinny if he thinks Carberry will be in for special treatment from the Leinster players should he play this weekend?
Absolutely. If I was playing against him, I'd try and go after him and put pressure on him. And I think Sean O'Brien, Dan Levy, these guys, and that's what you do to the opposition fly half. So it'll be interesting to see if he plays. Can he? I think he can withstand that kind of pressure. He's a top quality player, and he will need protection from his back row if that's the case.
Yeah, a bit of an exchange here on YouTube with these next couple. Bookworm, first of all, if Munster hope to get anything from the game, they'll need to produce a much improved performance with regard to their skill set in attack and their tenacity in defence. And then Raj Magoo replied, ha ha ha, they scored 9 tries, mate. Did you want 20? Is that enough for Leinster? I mean, this is what happens on YouTube, Quinny. It turns out you get a lot of...
they scored 9 tries against Ulster, yeah, and they were brilliant. But like... let's see if they can do it tomorrow. I hope to do, for obvious reasons. I hope to do, and I think Munster beating Leinster might be good for the game.
I bet you do.
Well, we're still trying to figure out which side of the river. Yeah,
it has to be good from a neutral perspective. Munster beating Leinster tomorrow, no?
Yeah.
Because that way, next time, say we're in this same situation next year, 1 week out from the European fixtures. Leinster, like, they came up and beat us in their own backyard last year. There's no way we're playing a second string team.
Listen, the 2 Munster lads saying that it'd be great for rugby if Munster beat Leinster. I'm not getting on board with that. Aidan Deneen on Twitter says, hopefully strong squads from both the teams will be named. Paul Gillen, a lot of talk about the Pro 14 teams smashing other teams and it negatively impacting on fan turnout, but the Premiership is arguably the biggest league in the world and have had this for years. Thoughts?
Have what for years?
Premier League, I mean, I presume he means.
The Rugby Premiership, I'm sure.
49,000 at a fixture in the Aviva Premiership.
Premiership's not the biggest rugby league in the world, is it?
No, it's very popular in fairness, and it's very consistent, and there's a lot of, but like some of the grounds are pretty small and there's not huge numbers. The Northamptons, Leicesters of this world, Gloucesters, you know, they can get 15,000, 20,000 at the game.
Probably is the biggest rugby union league.
It probably, yeah, it's very consistent, and there's
Super Rugby now?
No, I think the Aviva Premiership probably is.
Yeah, a couple more here. Sam MacDonald, YouTube. The reason the age has gone out of the Leinster-Munster clash is due to squad rotation. Our friendships between the provinces, the rivalry is gone because they're no longer knocking us out of finals. So, some other stuff there, but that is flavour of what's going on. Obviously, Ulster Connacht tonight. We've spoken a good bit about Connacht.
58 years they haven't won there, you know. So they got out muscled last week by Leinster in Galway, and so they're going to face a strong Ulster side. Ulster were missing a lot of players last week. Rory Best is back, Jared, Jacob Stockdale. So it's kind of like where Munster at, where Ulster at. I think they beat Edinburgh and Scarlets at home in the first 2 fixtures with late John Cooney penalties. They could easily have been losses. So I don't know where they're at the moment themselves. A draw and a win in South Africa, maybe that fatigued them a little bit, and obviously for Dan McFarland, he made a lot of changes. But I think if Connacht hold on to the ball, and this is a very kind of probably obvious statement, their skill set this year has excited me, and I think if they can take Ulster, move them around the field and hold on to the ball, they have the potential to maybe cause an upset there tonight. But we'll wait and see in that one. 58 years.
Champions Cup goodness to get into next week, Quinny, which I'm very much looking forward to. Thanks a million. Enjoy your weekend. Alan Quinlan is always with us on a Friday, and all with thanks to Air Sport, who are the home of Irish rugby. Right, Gary Breen is going to be our next port of call. Even he was on with Dan last night at the football show and off the ball, and here he is summing up yesterday for Irish football.
Well, in terms of Martin O'Neill coming out of his press conference and then throwing that type of a bomb where he obviously isn't privy to what's just been announced, I can understand his shock, really, because he's probably thinking, well, this is not in keeping with what I've been told. And obviously Sky now have retracted it a little bit in terms of the wording, but I think we just still need some clarity. I mean, Declan Rice, Jonathan Walters alluded to it there, young players now have to use social media. It's very easy to put out a statement from himself on social media as opposed to sitting in front of some reporters and being grilled that way. But it just seems that it's just drifting on too much now. We need an answer one way or another. Now, listen, I respect his his thought process, that he needs time to deliberate over what is obviously a difficult decision, because I don't think it's as black and white as it necessarily seemed to be when it initially broke all those weeks ago, in terms of, well, listen, are you English or are you Irish? He obviously has an affiliation to both countries, and he has to digest what's better for him. The only thing that frustrates me at the moment, I mean, a lot of people saying that, well, how well he's playing for West Ham makes it very difficult for us now. Well, that's a nonsense. Just because he's playing well doesn't mean that he can't come back to Ireland now. That really frustrates me, as if, like, well, he's playing so well now, why would he go to Ireland? So he'd only ever go to Ireland when he's playing poorly. And that really, really grates with me at times.
Yeah, that's Gary Breen on the football show last night. I want to let you know as well that we are calling all students. We've teamed up with Vodafone X to fuel your passion for sport by giving you the chance to join Team Off the Ball for a week. Yes, it's a prize, and you're going to see what happens behind the scenes of a show. I mean, it's mostly good stuff, Owen.
Is it?
Occasionally it's, you know.
I've never, like, we wouldn't really have too many inspired conversations, would we? You save all the good stuff for on air, Adrian, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
You get a chance to see what happens behind the show. You're going to attend a press conference. You're going to help report at a match and even feature as a co-host of a show. If it wasn't enough, all of that, you're also going to receive an iPhone 8 with a year's subscription to Vodafone X Sport, giving you access to 7 dedicated Sky Sports channels. And to be in with a chance to win there, submit your demo tape and your details. Just head along to offtheball.com/Vodafone X.
It's a great opportunity.
If Snapchat or Instagram is something you're particularly savvy at, this may well be something for you.
Does it apply to all students? Does it apply to students of the game? Like Conor McGregor, a student of the fight game?
Yeah, I'm sure
he'll be applying.
I'm sure he will. What are you up to? What's your plan? Are you going to the game tomorrow?
I'm going to the game tomorrow.
Good man. Sort of a bit of a mini jamboree, or what's the?
We'll see how the evening progresses, I guess, how we'll play things there.
Well, look, good luck tonight at the Radio Awards. What are you up for?
Fuck, nothing.
Whoa!
F all, Adrian.
Oh, 7 minutes past 9.
I don't even know why I stopped myself correctly.
I don't know.
That's actually more embarrassing.
I'm mildly happy that you did. That's pretty much it. Thankfully, from us for this morning, lots more coming your way across Off the Ball today. Got a Friday night racing. The crappy quiz is coming your way. Much more from 7 o'clock as well. Off the Ball is live across the weekend as well. Keep an eye on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to the podcast and check out offtheball.com. Good morning to you. Good luck.
OTB AM. Thanks to Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a dedicated call centre.